Super excited to have Matt Smith and Gigi Smith here from Smith-Atlas. I've been chatting with Matt for a while now and met Gigi back in Ancura in Puerto Rico and have seen them speak a couple of times. And so we're really excited to have them here to talk about how to make AI work in your research office. So just very quickly, I'll run through some instructions, let Gigi and Matt introduce themselves. We'll jump into a talk hosted by Matt and Gigi. And then, as kind of just mentioned, we'll save a bit of time for Q&A at the end.
Gigi and I decided that I would introduce myself first and then her. Anyway, my name is Matt Smith. I have about 18 years of experience in research administration. I started with the U.S. government, later represented clients as an attorney, outside counsel, and then I've been with Boise State for the last 12 years in research administration. So I've kind of seen this landscape from multiple different angles, and I feel like it gives me a good background of what people need here. A little bit more pre-COVID, I started working a lot with AI on researching what it could do for contracting. That was an area that was really important to me, given my background as an attorney and some of the work that I was doing. Um, but that once I learned about that, I just had ideas coming everywhere. Gigi knows I have ideas in strange places, and we're walking along somewhere, and I have an idea, and I need to send it to myself. But that kind of happened to me here, and really, what led me wanting to start our business is I would go to presentations at Encura or APLU or Koger or other areas, and I'd hear a very large organization talking about the AI tools that they had available to them, but there wasn't translation. And that was really important to me to make sure that we could translate tools to institutions of all sizes and all resources. So that's a little bit about me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'll turn it over to Gigi here.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, everyone. Gigi here. First off, I just want to give a quick shout out to Adam Grants. They've done some awesome, high impact, innovative work in the research space that we've all benefited from. So thank you for that. And thank you also for connecting Matt and me to this group of brilliant leadership here. So as outside of Smith-Atlas, I'm also the founding director for AI literacy services at my institution, CWI, and also an educator for various audiences spanning from college students to business professionals and topics from AI literacy, research writing, communications, and leadership and systems thinking. So I guess you could say my life's work is etched in rhetoric, metacognition, change management, and literature, which if you spent time in a literature course, you know the field is really a study of how humans assign meaning to their experiences. So in case you're wondering why lit majors here at a research admin venue, that's why. I'm here to offer you a lens that may seem unorthodox. It's one that's built from rhetoric and emotional intelligence, so we can uncover the mechanics and change management that need to be there. Next slide. So today's learning objectives. 1, what to do and what not to do. Why so many AI implementations fail, missteps to avoid, and how to lead AI initiatives that land, not crash, with approaches that invite sustainable progress. 2 is the people part. Why emotional intelligence and AI literacy are crucial for diffusing resistance and building real engagement with AI. How to solve for the right problems, which means how to tell from those productive problems, how to tell those apart from the avoidable ones. And then building your AI suite. Things to think about when you're looking for qualities and functions a good tool for your RA team should have. Next slide. So let's start with talking about our moment. Industry analyses put overall AI project failure rates well above 80%. And of the ones that fail, only about 23% trace back to the tech itself. The rest actually comes down to governance, change management, and the fact that 73% of failed projects never had an agreed definition of success before they even started. And then when you look at common challenges to research, specific to research administration, we're looking at protecting confidential data and IP when using public AI tools, accuracy risk and compliance critical work, right? A hallucination citation or misread regulation carries real consequences here. And the need for human review to remain non-negotiable. Now, a super important moment of clarity here. In order to get to solid solutions for these types of problems, we first need to solve what we have what's called an engagement problem. Next slide. So shown here are 5 of the most common barriers to AI engagement at large. And given our focus on EQ, emotional intelligence, you'll notice that 3 out of those 5 common barriers share a through line. And that through line is emotions. Looking at barrier 1, employee resistance and job security fears. So your team sees AI as a threat and not a tool. This fear blocks adoption before you could even start training. What that looks like, I mean, everything from workers worrying that that AI will eliminate their positions or make their skills obsolete. Employees then, what happens? They slow walk AI adoption by sticking to old methods that they know works. 2, lack of trust in AI outputs. People won't trust technology, they won't use technology they don't trust. So when AI gives wrong answers or can't explain its reasoning, employees stop relying on it. And if employees don't trust that output, the tech will have very little chance of gaining traction. And poor communication strategies. Sending a company-wide email about new AI tools doesn't count as change management. These generic comms fail because different teams really need different messages. And that's because each team and stakeholder cares about different outcomes. So with that, we look at everything, and clearly there's a breakdown going on, as the AI promises feel more like hype sometimes because of how it's in stark contrast with lived reality. But here's the thing. Systems are meant to break every now and then, including yours and the way that you do your thing. In certain lighting, we even call this continuous improvement, right? So why do some see AI's disruption as terrible while others see it as a breakthrough? Next. I appreciate how KPMG articulates this. They say leaders who can understand employee motivations, pain points, ways of working, and the emotional journey experienced will craft targeted programs and interventions to the right groups of people at the appropriate times. This is why we're really dropping the anchor to focus on rhetoric and emotional intelligence. It's through this lens that we can see what's at work when people choose which lighting to see AI in, and why humans are the irreplaceable answer for leading successful changes that AI can bring. Next. So for today, we're going to explore 3 specific imperatives that are prevalent to our shared context in research administration challenges and goals related to AI. 1, many humans misunderstand what the exigence is and where the problem sits. So rhetoric is the art of effectively convincing others. Exigence is a quintessential term in rhetoric, and that's defined as a circumstance or condition inviting the response. So this requires that one establishes a really clear through line from intent to action through first studying and understanding the problem to be solved. Any rhetoric that fails to respond well to the exigence just straight up fails. Now, through this, we in the world of rhetoric study circumstances to understand its problem and uncover the needs that are asking to be met. This applies dynamically across domains, including research administration, and a shared exigence we all have right now. You're in this webinar right now because generative AI disrupted systems and our routines, right? But a thing disrupting us doesn't always create a problem. Sometimes it points to one. If someone disrupts you with a tap on the shoulder and says, hey, there's a better way to do what you're doing right now, would you cover your ears to protect your routine? I think it's reasonable to say that wouldn't be someone's necessarily default reaction. But the next slide, please. And yet, many treat AI like a bull who needs to be kept out. I had Copilot create this image for me a while back because I really wanted to depict a curious observation about those that are resistant and defiant towards AI integration. Even for those who consider AI a threat, i.e. the bull, the reality is it's already within the fence. There's no such thing as keeping it out. So the output of Gen AI's accelerated applications with lagging or lacking change management has created these issues that promote anger, fear, resentment towards AI, but it's a misfired indignation. The cause of many issues isn't the tech itself, it's the gap in supporting humans that we've been grappling with. The world basically launched a world-changing tool without getting everyone ready for it, and even still, it's humans who actually did the launching. So indignation is justified here, just to validate that a little, but be careful about where it's pointed. Don't hate the wrong thing and don't misunderstand the exigence. At your own institution, many of the staff among you are deciding to resent the wrong things, right? And we need to provide clarity in where that problem sits as part of healthy change management. Next. Thank you. Two, for the humans who feel threatened, many approaches have backfired because those approaches are counterintuitive to human psychology. The backfire effect is a term in psychology that means humans are biologically wired to react to an intellectual threat in the same way we react to a physical one. Now, in the context of AI resistance and things like fear, resentment, worry, there's this polarity between institutions declaring, we need to get going with this, and many people saying that this looks like a bull to me. What do you mean? Right? Put it this way. Would you trust someone to hold your wallet if you thought there's someone who's stolen from you? Same with AI. If somebody feels threatened over their job, the last thing they'll trust is what they worry is the thing threatening their job. So really the point here, if you don't want an approach in trying to bring an AI tool into your workflow process, if you don't want that to backfire, you've got to account for the backfire effect. And next. Thank you. So Harvard Business Review captures the concept well in a recent article of theirs. And even their choosing to write this article, by the way, is very telling of our moment. So they say, like any giant existential change, AI is going to summon lots of messy emotions, and anyone who's ever tried to suppress or ignore an emotion knows that it just doesn't work. The emotions come out somehow through pain in the body, unwelcome behaviors, burnout, poor decision-making, or poor mental health. To work and lead in the age of AI means that we have to get comfortable recognizing our emotions and understanding why they're happening. Now let's connect this to one more bit of psychology. There's this thing called affect theory. And affect theory tells us that how we feel about something plays a powerful part in directing what we decide about that something. And all of this is really to say that when it comes to engaging people with AI, there's a fair amount of convincing that needs to happen, which is why rhetoric is so important, as is an awareness of EQ, not in some generic sense of persuasion, but as a genuine strategy that prioritizes responding to human needs. And next. So third imperative, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of AI literacy versus AI engagement, adoption, innovation. That's been a word salad of terms tossed around a lot, which is why we need a helpful moment of clarity here. AI innovation is cool and all, but AI literacy is imperative. Humans need humans to get started, keep going, and trust the mission. Literacy has to come first. We were taught to read K-12 or, on your journey to get to the position you're in now, you've had your own version of Research Administration 101, right? Before going into your complex roles you have today. Vastly, employees are being pushed to work with AI without having a solid understanding of what it is, and just as importantly, what it is not. It's interesting. You think like if you give your staff a policy to review and they say, no, I hate reading, I'm not going to read that. That wouldn't be okay from a professional standpoint, right? And that's not even an ethical gray area. So then why is there a tendency for an employee to feel justified in pushing against using AI as a tool or process? Now note that and thinking about that, how it blends with imperative too. Humans who are dubious of something won't likely just trust the thing they're dubious of. So if you're pushing someone fearful of AI to just embrace it, you're burning a lot of energy on low odds for success. What you need are steps for getting those in your workplace to that willing headspace. Next. And now, using our observations from those three context imperatives, we'll move to three takeaways crafted in light of them. Takeaway one, Humans need to meet at shared values, and goals need to be clear on how they map to those values. Simon Sinek, a business guru, said, "People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it." One of my favorite quotes. And then a blogger down the road came along, Joel Stoddart, and he said, "No, people do not buy your why, they buy their why." I share this because leaders of teams need to approach with an awareness that staff are a trail mix of feelings and thoughts towards AI usage. And knowing that exercising EQ in your change management approach is critical to breaking through walls, or at least scaling them to reach those on the other side and getting some doors to open. Next. And planning for how to do this. Recommendation 1, use the ADKAR change management model as a helpful compass for articulating values, goals, and what that how can look like. So ADKAR's elements call our attention to 5 important areas. And in looking at each area and defining what that means for your team specifically really helps us to get at the sorts of questions we need to start asking and finding answers to. So for example, awareness of the need for change. Do we understand why we need to change and adapt? What are the problems we're solving for? What goals form as in response as solutions to aim for, right? Desire to participate and support the change. How do we align shared values to find motivation? Important note here, a desire to participate and support the change doesn't mean you have to love AI and forgo personal opinions. Think of this as a willingness to participate and support, stemming from respecting the importance of the directive and the problems you're solving for together. Knowledge on how to change. How do we equip our team with needed knowledge, such as AI literacy and the tools that they need? Ability to implement required skills and behaviors. This is where we get specific with our goals and set a timeline for that progress, right? Goals got to be clear. You have to define the what and the why with actionable steps, mile markers, deadlines, deliverables, accountability structures, and most importantly, celebration for the wins. And reinforcement to sustain the change, the last piece there. Thinking about what our team needs for lasting change is a very important question to ask. And so you see how ADKAR is really helpful in helping us articulate that together. And next. Develop a community of practice within your team. Very important piece here, because remember, humans help humans work out the problem, right? And in that community of practice, it's more than a community of learning, it's kinetic. People can think and learn about things all day long, but it can go nowhere if it remains in the idea stage. In a community of practice, too, a critical design element is drawing on those shared values that we understand also to be very context specific, to a shared intention that really invites accountability in our work. Again, it's why goals need to be specific. Also, leadership modeling is key. You cannot give a directive on engaging if you don't engage yourself. And in KPI terms, fun fact, I thought it was really interesting when I found this, the primary of all things, the primary leading indicator of whether a change will succeed or fail is due to employee resistance is team sentiment of all things, team sentiment and buy-in, leading KPI. Now, by the way, you know what else affect theory tells us? Social experiences are powerful drivers of changing fear to confidence and of changing mindsets. So really, I think what all this boils down to here is like humans need humans for diffusing these sentiments of fear, right? And creating a new internal benchmark for determining if something's a threat or not, because we're social creatures. We assign meaning to our experiences, which discern a threat from a meaningful challenge. Next. Okay. Takeaway 2, establish AI literacy right away, please, and set up your team for the ongoing journey that AI literacy is. AI literacy is the keystone for everything else to build from innovation down to soul moments of considering and exploring an AI tool. It creates an awareness that there are things you can't not know about, right? So for example, we were all taught how to read. You're free to dislike reading in books, but no one here would complain that you were taught to read. Same thing with AI. Not everyone's an innovator or a fan, but we all do still need to evolve in our core competencies, especially in the workplace. And this realization I found in my experiences with different teams really has a way of making things click for people, of moving someone from the mentality of, why should I, to, okay, how can I not? I don't want to fall behind. Literacy opens doors, not just to access, but to the comprehension that mitigates fears. And next slide, to our final takeaway for today. Happiness comes from solving problems. Thank you, Mark Manson, contemporary psychologist who wrote that. I love how he says life without problems is impossible. They're simply exchanged or upgraded over time. A good life isn't one without issues, but one filled with good problems you actually enjoy solving. Now, while he wrote that as general life approach and advice, you can see how this applies to work life, right? Think of problems we enjoy solving as ones that are valuable and solvable. And then bringing this back to our exigence, I learned that the problem isn't that we have problems. Every organization has them. The problem with problems happens when we solve for the wrong ones, or we're solving the unsolvable, or we're not solving as a team. So when you think about this, like what's the problem you're solving for at work with AI? Is it how do I avoid it? That's not solvable. Is it how is this supposed to help me? That one is. For example, are you focused on data security while your team is focused on something else, such as trying to not be replaced as a human worker? These are two different problems that speak to different needs that ask for different solutions. So if this is happening, channel your rhetoric and EQ and think, how do I get us solving each problem together? And also, it is inevitable that there's some degree of uncertainty and worry and resistance that will still reside. And in this, happiness in solving problems, aka that feeling of accomplishment, is a powerful counterbalance to it. And that's it. So in some of my most eye-opening experiences in change management, I realized that being successful with crafting AI in the workplace requires not just the tech itself, but the thoughtful merging of it into the workflow process, and then the human knowledge for understanding how to operationalize it. It's something I stand by, along with some tried and true values that drive the work, which I would say are valuing the need, right, to strategically solve problems, targeting clear and specific goals with timelines and deliverables, definitely making AI literacy development a non-negotiable, investing in uh, a shared understanding of building emotional intelligence. And then, of course, last but not least, prioritizing people as people with meaningful experiences. You included, by the way. And now I will hand the mic over to Matt for part two.
All right, if I can handle the mute. So yeah, so as Gigi mentioned, she focused on the human side of change. So now what we're going to do in this second part today is we're going to develop some of the tools for the people to use. Now, we have tools of all different varieties. We have very large SaaS solutions that we can go purchase. What I'm going to be focusing on today is really these tools that we can use for everyday activities. How can we solve a specific problem quickly within our own environment without having to go out and get external source resources? So in the next few minutes, we'll watch one AI assistant help us develop another AI assistant for a common research activity. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to have one of our tools create a new assistant to help draft a university policy. So this could have been any number of things that we could have done today, but I just chose approach maybe because I have to write a lot of policies lately or update them. It's just on the mind. But think of the use case that is important to you right now as we go through, and what is important to you. So in this case, the task, when we draft a new university policy, we usually go out and we look at what other universities are doing, right? So we look at an R2 that's bordering on R1, like Boise State, we look at other aspirational universities too. Look at people our size, but also where we want to go. So the usual reality is we spend a lot of time researching other policies. We figure out, okay, this university did this did this. What are the majority and minority views? And then we start from a blank piece of paper and start drafting something. So the question today is, can an AI assistant do the heavy lifting while a person stays in control? And you'll see this throughout what we do and what we believe in, that a person stays in control and makes the decision. So before we get started, one of the things I learned early on is if we don't really think, it's like drafting a research paper without having an outline. If we really don't think about what we want the assistant to do and be clear about that, we're not going to be as successful. So in this case, we're reviewing peer and aspirational policies that the user uploads to the chat. We have it identify majority and minority views, have a real person, decide whether to use that approach, one of those approaches, or a hybrid or a different approach, and then draft a new policy using our institution's policy template and associated writing guidance. I'm sure all of you are aware of your style guides at your university or brand standards. We need to follow those things. And then we want the assistant to present its work as a draft for a human to review. So early on, years ago, I would start with these sort of system prompts. I would generally start from scratch and write them, and then I learned over time that wasn't as effective, and I learned that I could use AI to help. So now we use a structured interview process to walk us through the elements like the assistant's role and persona, audience, guardrails, knowledge, and those sorts of things to get us where we want to go. And so we have some built-in safeguards to help us tailor this to the work we want. And the outcome or the output is a clear, ready to test system prompt that we can paste into our whatever AI tool we have, whether it's Copilot or Gemini or Claude or whatever we have that we can use. And so that we can get the system prompt and the instructions of how to implement that. So I'm going to give you a short demo today. We'll see how technology works for us today, given that we're on remote. And that's always a pleasure to see how this goes. But so we have a tool that we wanted to show you. This is the agent generator assistant. So this is the meta tool that's an assistant that creates new assistants. So I'm going to just go into Gemini and I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to kind of go back and forth between a couple of different screens here. So in this one, I just wanted to show you early on, I learned that I was working on a chatbot for our for research administration, and I ended up adding like an element of multilingual. So it would be multilingual. I was thinking about our PIs and our staff that were involved in they were from other countries or were ELL, and I wanted to think about how can I make this easy for them. So in creating the chatbot, I made it multilingual. So in this case, I just wanted to show you that it's easy to create with AI to be able to create a lingual solution that will be easy for people to use whatever language they input. So we're not going to go through the interview in Spanish here, but I just wanted to show you that. So we're going to go to the English side, and I'm just going to kick this off. I always do this with my uh, agents or assistants is I create something here that tells us what to do. In this case, it gives us the kickoff or starter prompt that I'm going to just say start the interview. And then typically what I do with these sorts of things too is I usually have a user guide associated with these that I have a link straight from the description. So people always know where to get the user guide. So in this case, as it popped up, it's saying, hey, let's build something together. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the old game. Maybe it's just where I grew up in a small community, but we call it the 21 questions game. What am I thinking, right? And so we would start with something very broad and try within 21 questions to get us down to where we want to be. And that's what happens here as well as, so this tool is really meant to help us walk through an interview process that helps us with prompt engineering to find a solution. So in this case, it asks us, what are we trying to do? So, or what's the primary sector? So I'm going to say research administration, sponsor programs. And this has some startup work that it has to do. There's a lot of things that it tailors to the work. So let's talk a little bit about this. So what types of tools could we build? So I've built tools to negotiate contracts, extract data from awards for award setup, break down solicitations. I've created them to evaluate whether FAR clauses are in our contract, whether they've been evaluated. And I'm going to enter this in here and we'll kind of come back to that. So the first phase of this, so we're a research administration. Now what sector are we in? So we're a college or university. And then it also asked us what size it is. So I'm going to say we are in R2 bordering on R1, which is true about Boise State, where my day job. So, well, that's thinking here. So as you can see, we're in research administration, we're for a college or university, and now what's our size? And now it's customizing this to what our university is. Uh, so here we are. So we're in R2 on bordering on R1. And now it's asking us, what do we want the tool to do? What's the primary um, task we want it to do? So in this case, I want it to, let's see, I want it, the primary equals draft something. And I'm going to give it a secondary here to equals review or check something. I can type. And as you see, we're further narrowing in to where we want to be. So this interview process goes on. Um, this is where we're going to stop here for now for the live demo. But you'll see this is starts narrowing down. It knows what we're doing and it walks us through this process. So those of you who are familiar with prompt engineering with the different elements, that is how we work to get to an ultimate solution that gives us the system prompt that we can put into another tool. So like I mentioned before, this goes through the persona, the audience, as the audience, not only who is using this, but also their skill set and other actions like that. We talk about the tone we want to have, the knowledge we want to have in the background in the assistant, guardrails, output, that sort of thing. So that's where we'll stop today on the guided interview. I'll go back to our presentation here. Um, so when I walk through this for drafting a policy, like we talked about, the output we get is something that looks like it will be, it'll give us the title, a short description, and by the way, we choose the title. It'll give us a short description we can use, the full system prompt that we can paste into our assistant, guidance how to set up the assistant, and the kickoff or starter prompt. So that's what you get when you go through this interview process. The other thing, just a kind of, I guess, a pro tip for me, I'm sure many people have thought about this, but one of the things I typically do when I create system prompts is once I have it delivered, if I use Gemini, like in this case, to design a system prompt, I usually ask another LLM like Claude or ChatGPT or another, are there areas that we could potentially improve here? Are there any best practices that we're missing? And usually there's something, depending on which tool you use. And so what I do is I take those suggestions and put it back in the original LLM and ask them to evaluate that, and then ultimately I make a decision on how to go forward. So a little bit of a tip that I found to help really hone in and make this more a better tool. So the tool we created, the policy evaluation and drafting assistant, by going through that interview process, what we do is we have some background knowledge that we put in an assistant. So that's what lives in the actual assistant. It's a one-time setup. So in this case, I attached the policy template at Boise State, as well as writing guidance for drafting policies. That's in the background. So that's what's called the knowledge. And in the chat interface that the user uses, uploaded 5 different policies from peer and aspirational universities. And that's in the chat area, as you see. And then we add our kickoff or starter prompt, and that's here. And you'll see some of it's missing here, but in this case, you'll see it attached 5 policies, and we're writing a disposition of surplus funds and deficit balances on fixed price sponsored projects. It's a mouthful, but something we all have to deal with. Okay. So what do you get? So the first step in the tool that we developed, because remember one of the rules we have here is having a human in the loop. So, and we asked it to give us majority and minority views. So it goes through, in this case, it identified 4 topical areas for review of majority and minority views. And you'll see surplus, this one that's bolded here is the one I wanted to show you. Sometimes you upload some policies, and I've done up to 10 policies at a time. Sometimes none of the policies actually align. And so this outlines where they diverge and also gives you citations of where a human can actually find that information. So, and then what happens after this? So it gives us that outline of here's majority, minority views, and then this particular tool, because it knows the way it's designed, is it knows we have to have an interactive checkpoint. A human needs to make the decision. So it walks through each different step and has a human make the call. How do you want to handle this? Do you want to do this view or that view? It also, because this one's designed for research administration, to flag anything that could be a potential compliance issue. So in this case, allowing PIs to retain very, very large residual balances without a review process or justification is a risk. So something for us to consider. But ultimately, that this goes through, and for each point, it has the human make an ultimate decision here. And finally, the output is a draft, something you can react to. So in this case, what it does when it has the output is it gives you, this is a draft, and then it gives you the full draft. And so what we wanted to do here with our, so kind of stepping back, we had an assistant, created an assistant. We used that assistant to draft a policy, and this is where we're at. So at this point, it's drafted this policy for us to look at. And then, so from the perspective of our shared values, the AI assistant supports, a human decides here. Um, and then, so really, that was what I wanted to show you today is, so from a recap here, we were able to use an assistant, we call it the agent generator assistant, to generate a new assistant to help us draft policies. And that, we chose policy drafting. It could have been any number of things here, but that's the one we decided. After we implemented that new assistant, we uploaded policies from peer and aspirational universities into that tool, and then we made decisions about how we wanted to implement those majority and minority views, and then it prepared a draft policy for our review and ownership. So that's just an example of kind of a two-part process, but I really like this sort of meta approach because we all have great ideas, right? It might be a post-award idea. I worked on one the other day or a few weeks ago where we call them expense reports, where they're really travel reimbursements. Our people would find they'd go over to accounts payable to be paid and it would get blocked for one reason or another. It was some sort of, so we created an AI tool that would use our travel authorization against the rules and do a pre-audit using AI. So you think the sky's the limit, you have the idea, you could create something for yourself to implement in a very short order. So at this point, I'm going to turn the time back over to Gigi to kind of bring this all together from parts 1 and 2 and kind of synthesize our, yeah, well, I'll just turn it over to you, Gigi.
Thank you, Matt. So yeah, just wrapping up here and make sure we leave a good amount of time for any Q&A. I just want to recognize that there's a lot to unpack today from the just very granular walkthrough, as you saw with Matt, of applying an AI tool to very existential, high-level conceptual stuff. And so our intention wasn't to make you feel like you're drinking from a fire hose by any means, but really just to honor your time here by offering fundamentals for establishing your own solid footing. So with that, we're going to leave with all of you a resource kit. These are resources Matt and I have made for you, supplemental specifically to this Adam Grants webinar. And so in that, you can scan the QR code, or Matt, if you want to drop the link in the chat, you'll find a few things. One, the research administrator's mixtape, a guide to durable AI implementation. I call it a mixtape because of what it is and what it does. So it's not an actual mixtape, but remember, talking to a lit major here. So essentially what your staff needs to hear from you is powerful, right? Because it's really what guides that thinking that then informs their feelings. And what they need to hear from you is in some critical ways unique to your own team's experiences, because people are unique. It's why even the most branded canned AI literacy training videos out there on the market aren't the cure-all for that everyone runs to for AI literacy. And it's also why change management and listening to workflow problems, caring about your team as a team with shared goals is central to that solid approach for making AI work. So this mixtape is a downloadable, free downloadable reference guide for everyone here. And it uses the durable imperatives and takeaways from today's webinar to help you change your team's tune from breakdown to breakthrough. Another thing you'll find in there is just an extension of today's Q&A. Well, I call it a asynchronous post-webinar chat. It's so basic. It's basically share a question. If for whatever reason you don't end up sharing it today in the webinar, share it with us and we'll send you our response afterwards. And then if you're interested in taking a deeper dive in anything you saw today or others, we've created an option for you there too. But I will stop with that. I guess ending with thanking everybody for being here and listening to our presentation. Hope that was helpful, and we will turn things over to any questions.
I really want to know, how do you ensure your data security and protect your sensitive information when you are using the AI, especially what kind of measures do you have in place to ensure the security?
Yeah, that's a great question. Gigi, you mind if I take that one first?
For it.
So one of the things is always making sure you use your sanction tools, right? So at Boise State, we have something we call our data use guidelines, and I've worked pretty extensively with our Chief Information Security Officer to outline the tools the AI tools that are relevant for different use cases. So if I'm doing contracts or I'm using employee data, or I'm using these sorts of things, that it is laid out there so people can see that I can use this tool for this use case, and that's growing. And it's too long, honestly, right now at Boise State. It's too long. All the data information's there, but people, me included, I get impatient looking through. So we're working right now is creating a chat bot on that. So if I want to review FERPA data, or I need some other sort of I'm reviewing a research contract or something that could go I work with our tech transfer office a fair amount that could go in the public domain and we potentially lose an ability to patent with a statutory bar. So really, to answer your question, is make sure that there's a way at your university, and I encourage you strongly to work with your Chief Information Security Officer to identify what tools can be used for which case. And they may be a little bit hesitant at first because there's always the gray area, right? But there are specific use cases that you can find, I don't know your question if you have Copilot within your organization. So at Boise State, we have a Boise State.ai that's built on Amazon Bedrock. That's our own homegrown solution. That's our very secure with a lot of logging. We also use Gemini for Workspace that's within our environment, and we have logging and a lot of controls there. So those are our two tools we use for our most secure situations. But there are other ones there's an AI tool for a specific use case that those don't do well. Like we learned, like with our literature area, world languages. They wanted to be able to use the more of the microphone feature. So to do with their work. So to answer your question, really make sure your university has laid out the rules laid out, you know where to find them, and be able to have some security that you know where you're putting your data. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was thinking about what you're saying, and Matt, and to this important question. And one thing I would add to that is this is why AI literacy is so fundamental, and the skills that you get from it are so durable. Like the potential for threat is always going to run faster than our capacity to build protection from it. And so for all of the things that people are still learning at various levels in your teams across your institution, valuably knowing what not to do is a conversation and a process, a thinking process that you could probably already map and work with your team and understanding in the context of your work for all of the things we're learning and exploring. A fundamental, that pillar of AI literacy is like knowing what we should make sure we are not doing as we still uncover what we can.
Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, just wanted to say, I think, sorry, wrapped up too soon. James has a question. James, you want to come off mute? I can read it out too. James Kohler asked, do you suggest bringing in external AI consultant to lead a literary session or use internal familiar personnel to introduce training/literacy?
I'll start with that one unless something comes to mind first for you, Matt. Okay. Honestly, James, I'd say either or. Not, it's not an either or. Because what makes it so important is that the AI literacy learning experience is loyal to your native environment, right? So whatever internal sources that your institution does have, I know a number of institutions, ours included, have assembled things like AI committees, AI task force, works group, like finding where those governing leadership bodies are and seeing if there are any resources related to supporting AI literacy development for your teams. Because those factor and incorporate what enterprise systems you're already using, what institutional policies already are. So that's a great place to go. And that being said, not every institution necessarily has that infrastructure set up for someone running the ball, so to speak, with leading an AI literacy initiative. And if that is the case, then I would definitely say bringing an external party, a consult, directly in response to your question there, to work with the leadership in your environment would be the ideal.
Yeah, and just adding on that, it really is. I think a hybrid approach is really important, and for your internal folks, those are the people who know your specific use cases, the exigency that you're trying to solve, right? So they know if you have kind of a canned uh, presentation that doesn't address what your people are actually doing, what their actual needs are, that's not going to be very successful. So some sort of combination between the resources you have, they're exactly what Gigi said.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, I see the question there, Ellen.
Do you want to
So
just read it out?
yeah,
Read
go
it out,
ahead.
Matt, just for so Matt, how did you build your first assistant that helped you create other assistants? Was there a template in Gemini? I know they have a few pre-built custom gems.
Yeah, so actually I built this tool after I built a bunch of other tools. So I started with contracting tools. Like I know based on my background in law, I knew and process like what are the things that I would do. And I guess I'll give you a little bit of background too. So during COVID, I had a bunch of people, maybe you all experienced this in our contracting space, leave the university for other reasons. And we had some really, really great people and new. And then, so I was thinking about our supervisors and how they would train new people and bringing people on board. So I tried to think of a tool that would help teach our new people real time. So anyway, I created tools. I worked and iterated on this for contracting in other areas. And then I got to this point where I was thinking, if I had a tool to help create other tools, how much faster would this be? Because basically what I did is I knew the process I was going through each time, kind of this iterative chat process. And so what I did is I used an AI and my own knowledge about how this works to create this new assistant. So there wasn't a Gemini template or anything. It's just something that I worked together iteratively to create, and I'm sure it'll work better in the there's a reason I version control these because they always get better as I have new and different ideas. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Cool. Ellen says thanks. Good question. Alrighty. Yeah, I think we'll probably wrap up there. Just wanted to say thank you so much, Gigi and Matt, for your time today, and for everyone else for giving us an hour of your day. That was a really interesting conversation. And we'll follow up with the recording, and we'll also share the resources as well in a follow-up email. And yeah, thank you so much. We love running these, and we'll have more for you in the future coming up shortly. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks again, Gigi and Matt.
Thank you all. That was fun.
Alrighty. Cheers. Bye.